I live in a college dorm, and my floor is all girls. It's honestly a pretty relaxed environment. After a few weeks, everyone kind of stops caring about looking perfect all the time. You'll see people walking around in pajamas, messy hair, oversized shirts. It's just normal dorm life. And I'm the same way. If I'm going outside or going to class, I'll get dressed properly. But if I'm just stepping into the hallway for a minute, I'm not going to put in all that effort just to walk 10 steps. So one night, I was in my room just relaxing. I noticed my water bottle was empty, and I didn't feel like staying thirsty. The water fountain is super close, like 10 yards down the hall. I grabbed my bottle, slipped on my slides, and stepped out. I was wearing a white tank top and pajama shorts. No bra, nothing unusual. The tank top wasn't see-through, it was just fitted. You could maybe notice a slight outline, but that's it. When I stepped into the hallway, I saw a small group of people sitting outside a couple of rooms, just hanging out, talking, laughing, pretty normal. I didn't recognize everyone, but I didn't pay much attention either. I just walked straight to the water fountain, filled my bottle, and went right back to my room. The whole thing took less than a minute. I didn't stop, I didn't talk to anyone, I didn't even look at anyone properly. To me, it was just a normal, everyday moment. So I went back into my room, closed the door, and completely forgot about it. About 30 minutes later, I heard a knock. I wasn't expecting anyone, so it felt a little random. My roommate wasn't around, so I knew it had to be someone else. I opened the door, and it was one of the girls I had seen in the hallway earlier. She looked a little awkward, like she didn't really want to be there. She gave me a small, polite smile. "Hey," she said, "I'm really sorry to bother you." Right away, I could tell something was off. Then she added quickly, "It's just my boyfriend's here and he was kind of staring." And that's when it clicked. Her boyfriend. So that guy sitting with them earlier, that must have been him. I hadn't even noticed. I didn't know what to say. It felt weird, like I was being blamed for something I didn't even do. But I'm not someone who likes confrontation. I don't like arguing or making situations bigger than they need to be. So even though it felt uncomfortable, I just nodded and said, "Oh, yeah, okay, sorry about that." She smiled, clearly relieved, and said, "Thank you, I really appreciate it." Then she left. I closed my door and just stood there for a second. It felt strange. But I told myself it wasn't a big deal. Maybe she just felt awkward. Maybe she didn't know how else to handle it. So I decided to just let it go. That night, every time I stepped out of my room, I made sure to throw on a hoodie or a bra, even if I was just walking a few steps. Not because I thought I was wrong, but because I didn't want any tension. I figured that was the end of it. Simple misunderstanding, handled, done. But the next day, I found out that wasn't even close to the end. The next day, my roommate came back from the bathroom looking like she had something to tell me. She sat down and said, "Okay, I overheard something, and you might want to hear this." The moment she said that, I already had a feeling it was about me. And I was right. She told me that the same girl, the one who came to my door, was in the bathroom with a group of her friends, and she was talking about what happened the night before, but not in a normal way. Not like, "Hey, I asked her nicely to wear a bra." No, she completely changed the story. According to my roommate, the girl was saying I was basically half naked, that I was clearly trying to get attention, and that I was taking my time at the fountain like I was putting on a show. I just sat there, confused, because none of that happened. I literally walked there, filled my bottle, and came back. That's it. But then my roommate added something that made it even worse. She said the girl was actually acting it out, like physically showing her friends how I supposedly walked, leaned, and stood, basically turning me into a joke. That's when it stopped being just awkward and started feeling personal, because now it wasn't just a misunderstanding. Now she was trying to make me look bad. And the weird part was, we barely even knew each other. We had talked a little during orientation, but that was it. No drama, no history, nothing. And suddenly, I was the topic of her story. Still, I didn't say anything. I didn't confront her, I didn't bring it up. I just told myself, okay, people talk, it'll pass. But later that night, something happened that made it harder to ignore. I was heading to the bathroom to brush my teeth. I was already in my pajamas again, tank top and shorts, no bra, because honestly, at that point, I was like, this is my space too. I shouldn't have to feel uncomfortable just walking to the bathroom. As I walked past that same group of girls, I noticed the energy change. They got quiet, and then I saw it. She looked directly at my chest, not subtle at all. Then she looked at her friends, and they all started giggling, that kind of quiet giggle that's meant to be heard. I didn't react, I just kept walking, but inside I felt that irritation building, because now it was obvious. This wasn't just in her head, she was making it a thing. I brushed my teeth, went back to my room, and tried to forget about it. But the next day, things escalated. We all got an email from the RA, and it said there had been anonymous complaints about inappropriate attire in the hallways, and that everyone needed to make sure they were properly covered. I read it and just sat there, because it was obvious where that came from. She didn't just talk about it, she reported it, and now the whole floor was being dragged into it. That's when I stopped feeling patient. I wasn't angry in a loud way, it was more quiet than that. Just that feeling of, okay, this is getting ridiculous, and if we're doing anonymous complaints now, then I can do that too. So I sat there thinking about everything. The hallway situation, the way she twisted the story, the giggling, and now the email to the entire dorm. It wasn't just annoying anymore, it felt unfair, because I hadn't done anything wrong. I was just living normally in my own space, and yet somehow I was the one being made into a problem. That's when I remembered something important. Her boyfriend. He didn't even go to our college. I knew that because we had been in the same orientation group earlier in the year, and she had mentioned it back then. And I also knew something else. We weren't allowed to have off-campus guests in the dorms, at all. Especially at that time, the rules were strict. No boyfriends, no outside visitors, and on top of that, masks were required in the hallways, which, honestly, not everyone followed properly, including them. So I thought about it for a minute. I didn't want drama, I didn't want confrontation, but I also wasn't going to just sit there and let someone paint me as the problem when they were clearly breaking actual rules. So I opened the anonymous complaint form, the same one she had probably used, and I kept it simple. I wrote that there were people bringing in off-campus guests, specifically boyfriends, and that they weren't following mask rules in shared spaces. No names, no exaggeration, just the truth. Then I submitted it, closed my laptop, and went on with my day. I didn't tell anyone, not even my roommate. I just waited to see if anything would happen. And honestly, I didn't expect much. But the next morning, another email came. This one was more serious. It said that due to anonymous complaints, the dorm would now be strictly enforcing the no off-campus guest rule. They would be checking IDs of unfamiliar people to make sure everyone was actually a student, no exceptions. I read the email slowly, then leaned back in my chair, and I smiled, because everything just worked out. No confrontation, no arguing, no awkward conversations, just consequences. Simple, quiet consequences. And the best part? I didn't have to say anything to her. I didn't have to defend myself or explain anything, because now her boyfriend couldn't even come into the building anymore, which means she didn't have to worry about him staring at anyone. Not me, not anyone. Problem solved. And honestly, if you really think about it, I kind of helped her. She was so worried about what I was wearing for 30 seconds in a hallway. Now she doesn't have to worry at all, because now he's not even allowed inside.